to our breakfast, the digital reinvention of industry. Glad to have you. I appreciate you being here. I know the traffic is worse than usual in Davos, so great that you made it. Have a seat, and very unconventional. When you feel ready, start your breakfast. We're going to have three distinguished guests this morning. I will introduce them. I'll start with, in the sequence, we're going to talk, and actually what we thought about we're going to do this morning with our three panelists. Each of them will start with a 5-minute intro statement. So we'll hear a bit, actually, what does a digital reinvention of their own industry mean for them? And then we'll start actually having a discussion, and at the end of the discussion, we'll open it up with you. I think we have someone with a mic in the room. So let me start introducing the panelists. I'll go through all the three. I'll start with Omar. Omar from Accenture. Omar is actually our chief strategist, and he will do the first intro statement. And Omar is not actually running our business segment strategy. Actually, he's rethinking through the future of Accenture. And what does Omar do most? Actually, he uses our investment to not only talk about the future, but actually to invest in the future. So Omar will start. Then we have second, Peter Herweck. He's a member of the executive board of Schneider Electric. I think you started your career in Japan with Mitsubishi. You have worked in many areas of the world. He's now running actually the industrial segment and responsible for the large clients and actually know what your clients want. So looking forward, actually, what does the market tell you where you need to go? And last but not least, we have Dirk Hoke. He's the CEO of Airbus Space and Defense. We met each other when we worked actually for a digital reinvention project for the German government. We worked together for a few years. Actually, what is the vision for the German industries when it comes to platforms? So a lot of good insights. I'm looking forward to that. I would say a big round of applause for the three. Great that you're here. Early morning. So we'll have 3 5-minute intros. Omar, you want to start? Where's the digital reinvention going for our own industry?
Okay, well, thank you, Frank, and good morning, everyone. As Frank says, I have this incredibly privileged role where I get to see all the work Accenture is doing with all its clients across every sector around the planet. And Frank asked me to make some comments about how we see this whole fourth industrial revolution evolving into Industry X.0 going. And so I'd just like to comment on that. So firstly, I don't need to tell any of you that this digital and AI thing is becoming incredibly pervasive across every single sector. So it's no longer a consumer industry thing. It's very much an industrial industry thing. And when you actually go and look at progress of what's happened, the way I describe it to clients is I use science fiction movies. So for those of you who are familiar with Star Wars droids, I tell them to go and look at the Handle robot from Boston Dynamics. And this robot can carry meaningful loads at speed, jumping over obstacles, moving on a cambered surface with snow and ice. And it's incredible with no tethers and no beacons. Amazing evolution of technology. For those of you who remember Sigourney Weaver in Alien 2, when she took on the big alien inside that machine, where the big robot that she was inside, go and look at Method 2 from South Korea. It's the same kind of thing. But Fanuc, the robot arm manufacturer in Japan, using machine learning to combine robots working together to do a different level of productivity and allow them to work in an environment that's less certain than normal. Robots normally are very dumb within narrow tolerances. They're smarter when they combine their efforts together in a pod. Audi and Oculus with modular assembly, moving away from a singular assembly line. Ford and Argo with AI to help drive autonomous vehicle trains. So the evolution has been massive. And it turns out that the potential financial value is huge. So Accenture's just recently published some research, which is at the moment under peer review with a bunch of academics around, we took a range of different modern technologies from drones to robots to mobile computing to autonomous vehicles, and actually correlated it using principal component analysis with a large number of companies in 12 different industrial sectors to say, what's the implication for labor productivity and market value added? And it turns out that the potential value added of a combination of technologies is in the multi-billion per company. I mean, it's a massive financial implication. And we're publishing this week in the WEF with the World Economic Forum our accelerated sustainable production work, which shows that the value is not just financial, it's massive societal value potential as well. And again, I won't get into the details of that research, but you'll see it being published this week. And it basically says that the value, again, is in the trillions, financially, but also in terms of societal implications and specifically measured against the Sustainable Development Goals. You can really make a huge move on the needle just of application of these fourth industrial revolution techniques in industrial companies, from process manufacturing through to normal supply chains and manufacturing. So you then say, all right, so what's to stop us? Like, why wouldn't we do this? Because actually, I was talking with Peter and Dirk earlier. I grew up as an engineer, and engineers typically are smart. And what's more, by definition, engineers are on the front end of innovation. They like technology. So what's to stop us? Well, actually, there's a couple of things. I'm going to be a bit cheeky here, but engineers do sometimes suffer from a not invented here syndrome. They like to figure it out themselves. And there is an issue with that, which is modern innovation in modern corporations cannot be done by one company. I mean, I really believe that deeply from what I see with our clients. Innovation happens in a very big ecosystem. So engineers and companies need to be able to work very effectively with a big ecosystem to capture innovation. The second thing that I find is a bit of a hurdle is most industrial companies grew up with a product orientation mindset. In other words, they make products with features or products with manufacturing specifications. And actually what digital does is it pivots product industries into service industries. And that is a giant shift for any company coming from a product background. And again, we can go into different examples of that. So what is the fourth industrial revolution let you do? Is it lets you create a digital data thread through a corporation that goes through the traditional silos of the value chain, where you use data to understand the end user or the end consumer experience, and you use that in the conceptualization of the actual design of the product. Of course, you use it during the manufacturing and the supply chain process, but then you take real world feedback from the ultimate use and the ultimate value creation for end consumer and take that back. And that digital data thread is not so trivial because now you have to work with people. The issue is not about technology, it's about the incentives across a corporation, across an operating model to get people lined up to actually do things very differently. So it is challenging, it requires careful thought, how to take all of these modern techniques and apply them in a way that creates value, but the opportunity is enormous, and in fact we see many companies already going in that direction. That's it from my side.
Well, thanks a lot, Omar. In the round of questions, you said you're responsible for investments. I will ask you later on, what are you looking forward to buy?
Sure. With pleasure.
But you know, I think Omar is setting the way from products to services. Peter, how does it look at Schneider Electric? What's your vision as yourself, the company?
Well, first of all, 2 times thank you to Omar because he said I'm smart. I'm an engineer, so engineers are smart. That's what he said. And secondly, for the introduction from companies that have products that need to move to services. I'm not sure that everybody in the room knows Schneider Electric, so maybe two sentences about it. We are a very simple company. We do 2 things. We do energy management and automation, and we've been doing this for maybe 30 plus years, even so the company is much, much older, but we transformed in the early 80s and have grown like a startup from 1 billion to 25 billion in the last 30 years. So meanwhile, with roughly 195 factories globally, 150,000 people, and probably one of the most global companies on the planet. And having worked in 4 different companies, I've never seen such a global company before. Now, if you look at our mission is life is on. What does that mean? We believe electricity is a basic human right. So we want to make electricity available for everybody in any place at any time, and that's kind of driving us forward. Now, you would say, what does that have to do with digitalization? Well, both markets, the energy management market and the industrial market, are both disrupting at the moment. They're both becoming much more decentral, and whenever something moves from central to decentral, you have a massive disruption. And both of them use digitalization as a mean to drive this disruption. We believe we're in the pack of companies that is leading this digitalization or this disruption in the markets we're in. So we're in the industrial market. We talk about smart manufacturing, or Industry 4.0 as it's called in Germany, or smart building, smart grid, energy services, or energy saving services that we give to our customers. So to take it off where Omar started, I want to maybe take you 10 years back in our company. We really are known as a product company, shipping products. Probably most of you have one of our products at home, maybe not under our brand, but different brands that we're having. And it's, when the fuse blows and you go to this electrical cabinet, you open it up, there is some, miniature circuit breakers. And you wouldn't believe, but we're shipping 400 million pieces of those a year. You'd think 400 million pieces, there are only roughly 7 billion people on the planet. So it's a big number, and we're knowing very well how to ship those products, and we've established a distribution network globally with 10,000s of distributors, system integrators, electricians, panel builders that in our ecosystem. They're in the ecosystem of shipping products to them, and they're going to ship a solution to the customer. So obviously that market is going to be disrupted. And the same is true for the industrial market. We see two revolutions going on at the same time, and one is our internal revolution in the complete supply chain to our distributors, partners, to the customer. So you need to fully digitize that. Whereas in the past, you'd go over to the shop, you buy a product. This is, of course, you don't do that anymore. Our customers, while they travel to the construction site, they realize they forgot a product. They use their mobile phone, and by the time they drive to the construction site, the distributor has arrived on site and is going to bring the product that they're missing for the day. You can imagine from being a catalog kind of product vendor to this kind of arrangement is quite a revolution. I'm not going to be talking about that today, even so it's going to be very interesting. I'm rather talking about the offer side. So how did we change our offer? So from disconnected products to connected products, because if you don't have connected products, how are you going to get data somewhere to utilize all the fancy artificial intelligence, analytics, asset management, and so forth. From a central control that we would have in the cabinet of a machine or in the control room of a plant to really a decentral control that selects the space where it wants to run, either in the device or in the control room or somewhere in the private or public cloud. And then probably the biggest revolution, moving from an electromechanical company to a software company or a digital services company. That's a big revolution in itself, because an electromechanical engineer and let's say a software engineer, these are two totally different breeds of people. We started our journey from the customer, saying what's the individual pain point at the customer, and we figured there are many different pain points in all the industries we are in. So we said we did quite a few what we call customer journeys. So what's the journey of the customer from the idea of doing something to the final result, and then try to digitize those. And I think the beauty was that we came up with one architecture that can serve all our end markets, and we've called this architecture EcoStructure. is a little bit a complicated word, but eco like in economy and structure like in structure. So very economic structure to support our customers. And we use it for all our end markets, for all the domains where we are, and we believe the domain know-how is very important. Now, what has changed? So we have transferred all the products, the 100 millions, almost billions of products that we manufacture every year, make them connected products. So 50% of them are already connected or connectable. And the second layer above that is the control level called edge control level. While this was a lot of hardware engineering in the past, today is already 75% of that is software. And then the new layer on top of that is our software application digital services. That's a pure software layer that hosts quite a bit of intelligence to drive the digital revolution forward. And so with that also came new challenges like cybersecurity to us in the OT space, and the OT and the IT space are totally different in that respect. So quite a few challenges that we needed to drive forward, and it goes even further when you look at the complete supply chain of our customers. When they design a plant, they want to build a plant, they operate the plant, and then they do asset management, analytics, optimization. This today is only software, and it has become a huge business for our company, but with that, of course, a large transformation. And since I think I've already taken more than the 5 minutes, looking forward to discussing that a little bit.
From product to service, so you're just talking about what Omar said will happen. Thanks a lot, Peter. Dirk, you joined Airbus 2 years ago.
Yes.
Let me say that you are known for being really one of the forethinkers of how companies go digital. Looking forward to your vision on Airbus.
It is an interesting journey. I started 2 years ago, and when I joined, I was talking, when we started the new strategy, I was talking a lot about platforms. And it took me really a couple of months till I realized that my people didn't understand what I'm talking about. Because in Airbus language, a platform is an aircraft. So we really misunderstood each other for a couple of months because they believed I'm going to stop the traditional production of aircrafts and go into purely digital business. So I really scared my team a lot in the first months till we realized that we're talking about different things. And it took me even more, and I still have not overcome that hurdle, to convince the people that this is complementary in the future. We produce unique aircrafts and systems and products, and they produce unique data. Only a few companies in the world can produce the data that we can produce. And I try to teach our people that this is something which I regard really as golden eggs, and that we can build additional business, digital business on that. And I will give you a couple of examples. I brought a few pictures in order to illustrate. I'm not sure how this works now. Someone can push a button.
Fully digital.
Okay. This is not the first one. There should be one before. Yes, this one. You see, when we talk about Industry 4.0, we all expect that connectivity is working, communication is working. But of course, what we realize today is the world is not fully connected. Billions of people have no access to internet. So this is our vision, how we can support that, because this is OneWeb. This is an illustration of the network that we're going to build with 900 satellites. And this for us was already a complete disruptive process. Today we build around 15 telecommunication satellites per year. This is 900 satellites. If we would keep up that speed, we would build 60 years of satellites in order to get that constellation done. This is to be built in 2 years. So we went from purely manual work into a very automized process in order to create 15 satellites a week, which will be produced in 2 years. This will cover the whole world. It's a LEO and it's in a lower orbit, and it will provide most dominantly internet services for the world, especially also for the not connected parts of the world. With this, we believe we can definitely influence the communication world in the near future. This is something we started last year, and I pushed a lot. It was not easy. Now, as I said, to overcome the hurdle to talk about digital-driven services, and then to build it. And we come from a company where first time right is in the DNA. So to do something, not knowing exactly how it works, to get into the market, talk about it before it's 120% safe, is not in our lifeblood. So this is what we announced last year in April at the biggest drone conference. And we presented what we call Airbus Aerial. It's civil drone services. And what is unique, because you can ask why Airbus, because there are hundreds, thousands of different companies into these drone services. We are the only one-stop shop where you can combine satellite data with drone data. Because we own satellites, we can have high-resolution photos and videos of the world, and we can combine it with drones. And this is an example how the platform works. And we use it, for example, for the Hurricane Irma and Harvey. We gave the satellite data and the drone data for free to the first responders so that they could identify where are the areas that are most damaged, because we have the pictures before and after. So you can already identify where the biggest hit of the storm was. Then we sold the data to insurance companies, because the biggest problem they had after the hurricanes hit the cities, that they had thousands of insurance claims of people that lost their house or they lost the roof. And for them, it was very critical to get the insurance claim passed. But normally, in order to get there, you need thousands of utility providers that go and inspect the house, that do videos, photos, and then they write a report. It takes, per house, it takes a long time. Adding that up to thousands of cases, you can imagine how long the people have to wait. What we did, we gave them access to our platform, and we showed them satellite data so they can see the area before and after. So this is before and this is after. And you can just move the bar and see directly how the difference is. This was not good enough, because then you still have to send people out. What we did then is to put machine learning on top to identify houses that are completely destroyed, and then also to provide a sequence of the damages to the roof. So we provided AI so that they could then afterwards have a sequence of the damages to the different clients. This worked so well that the insurance companies loved that they called us again for the wildfires in California. And they gave us the coordinates of the clients, and we processed that fully automatically and gave them then the status of the different houses. What they did is they sent out the claim papers to their customers before the people even know that the house is gone, because they couldn't assess the area. It was completely blocked. So the clients learned through the letter from the insurance that their house is not existing anymore. So this is completely new for our people. The same technology used in a different way. We work with food producers. And one of the biggest problems is that today we have a lot of deforestation. And the more responsible companies, they have in their charter to be deforestation neutral. What we do is, that what they do today is they spend around 50, 60 million sending people around the world to do reports on the size of the agriculture, especially for palm oil producers. And this is a very complicated process, need to be certified in order to be accepted. And they spend 50 to 60 million per company. And of course, most of these reports are most of the time not completely correct, or they are also corrupted. What we can do with satellites and drones, we can do this fully automized. We can have geofencing and declare the agriculture area, and if there's any change, we give an alarm system to the company so they can send people to control it. So this works also with the same technology very fine. Looking about the future of Airbus, because this is, of course, it causes a lot of media attention. Starting from the left, this is quite interesting. When I was still at Siemens, the E-aircraft was part of my business, and then I moved to the CTO. And now I'm on the other side dealing again, because now it's a cooperation between Siemens and Airbus, and we spent hundreds of millions in order to develop first a hybrid and then second step electric aircraft. So this was the first electric aircraft, a 1- and 2-seater. But of course, this doesn't solve the problems of the world. So we plan to go next step to 20-seater, and of course the ultimate goal is to produce a single aisle, a 200-seaters, first in hybrid and second then in full electric. On the right side, this was presented at Geneva Motor Show last year. It's called Pop-Up. It was developed together with Ital Design, which is an Audi daughter. And this is an idea how we can put different modalities into one product. So having a chamber that can be then combined with wheels or with rotors in order to be either a drone or a car, so that it can be seamlessly fit into transportation in cities and make our life easier. So this is only a study. The next two are reality, even they don't look like yet. The left one is called Vahana. This comes out of a startup activity that we call A-Cube in Silicon Valley. And it was developed in a few weeks, and it will fly in a few weeks in California. It's a vertical takeoff and lift. So it lifts vertically, and then it tilts the rotors, and it flies horizontally with the rotors moving. This is a 1 or 2-seater. It will fly in a few weeks. The next one is quite an interesting part. This comes from our Airbus helicopter colleagues. It's a 4-passenger seating drone, which will fly at the beginning with a pilot, because we unfortunately don't have the regulation to let it fly autonomously, even the technology exists. And later on, it will be flying completely autonomous. And this will fly by the end of the year. The first tests have already been very successful. So this is a bit the idea of transportation for Airbus in the future.
Thanks a lot, Dirk. I think amazing stories. And if we try to put together what we just heard, actually we see four fundamental building blocks of this digital future of industry. Number one, you all talked about smart products, making products, smart products which become data collection engines. And that's new. So you have data you didn't have before. That's the first building block. Second building block we heard from all the three speakers are the platforms. Smart product connected to the platforms where the data is processed, where the ecosystem is orchestrated so you can do something with all the information you receive. The second building block, platform. Third building block, we heard about new business models, data-driven business models. You suddenly start to rethink, actually, how can the combination of a smart product and smart service lead to a new business model which sits on data? And what I find amazing, and that's a fourth building block, is the speed and the acceleration, how you do engineering manufacturing. You talked about a new airplane product being engineered and out of the gate in weeks. You said a few weeks. Unheard of. And that is disrupting the industry. The smart product, the platform, the new business model, and the absolute acceleration of the cycles in engineering and manufacturing. And I think that we'll use these four themes a bit to go through the discussion. Let me start, Dirk, just picking up on what you said. You have a theme of digital continuity. I understand it in a way that you say, not only that I engineer and manufacture my product, but I will be with my product when it is operated through the whole life cycle. And I will become a partner of my client through every minute of operations through the whole life cycle. How hard is that?
Incredibly hard, because it will take billions of euros. It will take a couple of years in order to get over the legacy that we have, in order to have the digital continuity. The idea is really to, from the idea, develop the product and the systems in 3D, bring it into, of course, then into ERP system and the manufacturing excellence system, do the production, go into service, and have everything in a seamlessly integrated data stream. This is the theory. Reality today for us is very much more complex. We come from a lot of different companies merging into one. And this created a lot of legacy system, which makes our life really, really hard. We have hundreds of versions of CATIA. We work, of course, also with NX from Siemens. So ready to just have a common decision on which software we use, and then to do it over time is a tremendous effort. For example, just for our product that you probably all know, the A400M, It was developed in commercial aircraft. It was then moved to different steps into military aircraft and then defense and space. We have 2 different SAP systems. So I have my pre-production in Bremen working on a different SAP system than the final production in Spain. And you cannot imagine how difficult it is to get these systems to work together. And this was several analyses done. Is it worthwhile to harmonize the SAP system in a running project, which is already, let's say, difficult enough? And at the end, we decided not to do so. So just a simple step like that takes ages in an area where you have product life cycles of decades, where if the product works, we will explore it for 50 to 80 years. So we have to decide on things that will be affecting many successes of myself and have to integrate into the company. But the problem is also PLM. We have only a few dozens of people that understand the whole data continuity. So ready to find people that understand how it can be done is a big barrier and hurdle. So now we're working with all the people that we have identified, plus of course external, in order to pave the way to integrate that.
You mentioned 2 interesting points. I will come back to them actually. How do big companies transform themselves? And you said, how do I cope with the legacy versus should we not go internal startups because that is a completely different speed, and how do I change my mindset from process-driven to data-driven? We will park that and come back. But I think these are important points. Peter, shipping 400 million sensors. Let me translate what I heard. You said you're shipping 400 million circuits. They don't cost a whole lot. Not like in Dirk's business where an airplane has a cost of an airplane. But you are saying, we make them connected to a platform. We create one of the broadest, based on electricity, sensing networks of the world. And in order to exploit that, we have to become digital ourselves on the supply chain. And we have to start transforming actually the way our customers use our products to create a market. Can you talk a bit more about that internal change program in Schneider Electric? Because I think that's big.
It's humongous. And this was just one product line where we have 400 million boxes. So in total, it's many more. And to give some insights on some of the challenges we had, I said we know how to ship boxes. And if you all of a sudden say, I have also some software or some applications, you say, oh wow, how do I gonna be shipping this one to the customer? So we started off by putting the software license in a box. Somebody's here who's spent his life in software, he starts laughing at us. But our supply chain wasn't able to sell a license. We needed a box, so we, had basically an empty box that we shipped with the license. So that's
like the old Microsoft operating system in MediaMarkt.
Yeah. So that's kind of the start. Then, in addition, same what Dirk said. When you ship hundreds of thousands of the same products, or like he does, where people's life depend on the functionality and the quality of the product. Our product developers, when they go out and we have a mass introduction of a product, we are pretty sure that this will function, because we cannot afford going out and doing kind of version management at the customer once these equipment are installed in the houses, in factories, and so forth. So that stuff's got to work. When you move to more digital services, people are saying, okay, this functionality is not there. Let's upgrade over time. You download, and with that, you work your way through the journey, so to say, and that's a totally different mindset of development process. It's a totally different mindset of how do we bring these products to market, and it is also, as Omar mentioned earlier, we're not we cannot do all the innovation that is required in our markets all by ourselves. So there is a large ecosystem of partners also where we jointly need to bring something to market. So we've, in simple terms, we transitioned from pure shipping products to being able to ship products and also download software from a platform or log into a platform and use a certain a service. We've been able, or in the process of being able, to transform our distribution network that they can also sell digital services. While in the past you would receive the invoice from the local shop around the corner, when they download software, they probably get the invoice from somewhere globally to one location. So these are transformations that are in front of us. Now, one of the things where we've worked together, and since we're here together, it's maybe worthwhile mentioning. We started off what we call the digital factory internally, and the digital factory is responsible of developing these digital services and digital applications, and it's a totally different breed of development engineers that we needed to hire over time, and that follow also a different process of developing these applications that we want to bring out in a very quick manner to the market and explore them, while at the same time we need to make sure if one buys, let's say, application number 1 and application number 10, they also talk to each other. That's new for us. In the past, this was all wired and engineered on site, and that's not the case anymore. So with that, we've established that a digital service factory that is driving all of those services forward, while of course keeping the customer in mind. We engineers love innovation, sometimes for the sake of innovation. What was important to make sure that we're always, with every single service that we are coming up, we're addressing the pain point of the customer so that we can monetize also quickly, and the customer quickly sees an ROI. That's one of the largest challenges that we have in the whole digitization journey. As Dirk pointed out, you say, okay, we got to invest a humongous amount of money. Well, many of our customers are also asked to say, we're not a social welfare organization. We got to make some money. So what's the return of investment? Give me the proof case. Demonstrate it to me. Show me sites where it's been working. So that's all totally different to where we were a couple of years back.
Is that hard for the customers to come up with a business case? And can you share the experience, from where does it work well from a customer perspective on their business case to go digital, and where is it maybe harder than you thought? Two very simple example. One simple example, one more complicated example. We have a customer that manufactures car washing machines, and plenty of them, and their biggest source of profitability is the chemicals that go into, or the washing chemicals that go into the machine. And they figured over time they are losing many of the customers because they buy those chemicals somewhere else. And they said, we'd like to connect those machines. Obviously, we were the experts in supplying an edge controller and some devices to run that machine. And so they went out saying, with whom can I connect those machines the fastest to our SAP system, and they can tell us how much of the shampoo they still have so that we can replenish on time. And for them was just a question, how quick can it be done, and how much is it going to cost? And we've been able to bring this value to them. So they were connected much closer to the customer. Then as you go this journey, then they say, okay, now that we're connected, can we also do preventive maintenance? Do we know what's gonna break in the future and so forth? So all of a sudden you walk forward and do additional applications or additional services that
immediately creates value to the customer, and then there is also a willingness to pay for those.
So you're not in the business of selling products anymore. You're in the business of solving problems for your customers.
Well, that's correct. While in this example, the interesting part is it's in this case, and it's not always the case, it's a winner takes it all. Because we were able to connect the fastest, all of a sudden they say, okay, we'll take the whole automation equipment for the washing machine also from you, because then we have a one-stop shopping in that respect. So, if people talk about the winner takes it all, that's a clear example. And we weren't the supplier of the automation equipment before. It was one of our friendly contenders. But obviously, it also sometimes, unfortunately, works the other way around here.
Here we go. Omar, you started your introduction, something dramatically happened in the business to consumer industries. Some of the consumer industries, music, books, shopping, went to platforms and the winner takes it all. I just use your summary. And I think part of your thinking is this is going to happen to the business industries. This is going to happen to the industrial industries. And you created Industry X and Accenture as a new field of service to help the industries to go digital. What is Industry X about? What are you thinking? What Accenture will do to further that cause?
So, without getting too involved, I'm going to play back some of what we heard here. So in the industrial space, whether it's process plant or, if you like, widget making, across the whole spectrum, companies have thrived by collecting smart brains of mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, and putting folks like that together. In the digital era, as you said, new models emerge. And so now I'm going to embed software into these products, and they're going to become intelligent. Then I'm going to use the Internet of Things and the communications networks that Dirk talked about and connect them to give the potential of a platform. And I think we've heard several examples here of then taking that data coming off these platforms and building services on top of those platforms. We haven't talked about further evolutions, which again may seem far-fetched, but are not far away, around human-machine interaction. So, beyond user interfaces, today it's all about voice, but tomorrow, even the technology for tracking and monitoring brainwaves and allowing brainwaves to control devices is dramatically accelerating. So there's innovation happening at every stage of the stack. So when I think about Accenture's role, it's not, we're not going to be more engineers than the engineers. That's not our job. But our job is to bring all the innovation that's out there in the wider world and see how does it apply. So whether it is indeed around managing digital identity around critical national infrastructure, those are things our cybersecurity business can contribute. So our role as an innovation mediator in an ecosystem, for me, is number one. Number two is, you'll hear us talk a lot about applied intelligence. We think AI in its various forms are going to become massively more important. And of course, this is a huge investment area for our business, and we want to bring those skills to help our clients. And then thirdly, very simplistically put, if you think about what is Accenture over the last 20, 30 years, it's always been around bringing modern innovation and technology into business. And that means understanding the human element, because the issues that we typically see are often not to do with technology and a lot to do with people. And we think that the technology is here to serve the people. And so our job is to help our clients, optimize in the best possible way how their people can succeed working with all of these modern innovations. So those are different aspects for how I think about applying all of that in an industrial context.
So the question I had before, you said there are a lot of building blocks, starting from the security digital identity to the AI platforms, the machine learnings, the human-machine interfaces. From an investment perspective, what's most interesting to you?
I'm obviously not going to give any forward guidance, but just to give you a sense. Yeah. So Accenture did $1.7 billion of acquisitions last year. We did 37 different acquisitions and an additional 7 minority stakes. And so we're constantly looking at innovations that we think are going to be most relevant to our customers in the future. So to give you a sense, just a couple of weeks ago, we signed an acquisition called Mackevision here, close to here in Germany, which is a very, very interesting play, particularly in the auto sector, but way beyond. And again, Peter, you were talking earlier about 400 million different components, each of which, by the way, needs to be photographed and marketed. And so the content management of that is just a giant job. If you evolve that into rotating equipment or moving equipment or super complex products like aircraft, the content, the digital twin management is one aspect of the operation, but actually the digitization of the product for marketing and service management purposes with customers is a whole other task. And those are areas where we think we can play a role. And so that's some example of some of the areas we look at.
Absolutely. I mean, that leads us to maybe we explore the ecosystem a bit. Because for each company in these areas, making the product smart, creating the platforms, thinking through new business models, accelerating engineering, manufacturing, you need new partners. Dirk, we all talk about the ecosystem, and this kind of a bit fuzzy in the cloud. What is ecosystem for Airbus? What does ecosystem mean for you? How do you bring that to life?
Starting with giving the example of Airbus Aerial, when I announced the new platform, we invited software, hardware developers and entrepreneurs to join us, to team up on something which was not fully developed. We said it's maybe 20% ready, but we want to do the next 80% not alone. And this is not the normal Airbus way. We said we want to invite you to either to develop software or to do applications or to develop hardware, payloads for the future drone services. Or you want to run your business model, you have a great idea, but you don't have the hardware software capabilities, you can run it on our platform. So this is the first step. The vision is much bigger. The vision is to create an ecosystem which will be like the geo-information store of Airbus, where we hopefully will bundle all the information of the world. We have petabytes of data, photos, videos of the world. We want to create the platform where all the other platforms will get the data that you use. Today you have
global leader.
Yes, we are in many areas. We are already, but people don't know. Today, if you use your smartphone to use Google Earth or to use Google Maps, and you have blended in satellite picture, there's a high probability that 40% of these pictures coming from us. So this is the first step. We're just building currently now 4 high-resolution satellites which will provide commercial satellites down to 30 centimeters resolution. And we will implement new laser communication which will bring up the speed of the normal communication between satellites and ground stations to a multitude. So this is something where we can add a lot of partners. We believe that the future is about co-creation, co-development. And we, as you said before, we have very smart people, but there are even more smart people in the world that need to be connected and to work together on these topics.
Just a follow-up question. Yesterday you talked at DLD, and one of the things I think you said, let me just make sure I repeat it in the right way, but you said, if you want to go fast in digital, start investing into your people. What is behind that?
No, it's because if you want to have a digital transformation, at the end it depends on how fast your people will embrace the change. Yeah. And if you just introduce new digital tools, you end up, a friend said, if you have shitty processes before and you digitalize them, you have shitty digital processes afterwards. So, and this is absolutely the case. So we have to do, we do several topics in parallel. We do the digital transformation where we look at data continuity. We look at culture transformation in order to not lose our teams. So we have created, when I started, a value journey where we let our people define the values because we spend so much time with each other. We say it has to be fun. And the more motivated the teams are, the faster the transformation will be. So we created that journey. First in my division, and it worked so well that we now took it up for the whole group. So we have, I don't think there are many companies in the world that have started a bottom-up value journey where we asked our people what should be our value system that should define our behaviors, our working, our communication and cooperation. And so this is going live, is already now in implementation. And the third pillar is, of course, to look at what we call bus bureaucracy. Once you talk about value-based leadership, you have also to live up to your own saying. Because just saying we empower people and then you don't do anything, then it will not work. So we created a team which is called Bus Bureaucracy that looks at ideas coming from the teams saying, I have a problem, I need 15 signatures, it takes me 8 months for something that should be done in a few days. And then the team looks at it And first example was they told me that we need, in order to hire someone, it takes us to 6 to 9 months and 10 to 20 signatures. And despite we have a budget discussion, we have approved headcounts and everything. So I said, okay, then let's change it. We changed it in a few weeks into 2 signatures. Only the manager plus the HR business partner. The problem is that the people didn't use it. So first the people complained that they wanted to have a more lean process. Then we gave it to them. And when I checked 6 months later, all the approval sheets still had 10 and more signatures. Why? Because it's still, it covered my ass action. We're afraid, I'm not sure, is this really serious? So instead of using 2 signatures and pushing it through the company, they still used it. So we did a lot of communication, so we now get it maybe to 20%, where we still have more than 20%, 2 signatures. But it's you see, they ask for it, we give it them, and it still doesn't work. So you need to do a lot of efforts in the digital transformation on culture change and on, of course, getting to leaner processing.
Bust up bureaucracy, I like that. But you have a theme here, which Peter, you mentioned before. I think digital is about central platforms and decentral, basically, autonomy to create services, create innovation, sitting on the platform. That balance is important. What I think is not widely known about Schneider Electric is actually the broadness of your ecosystem. As far as I know, and let me just read the data, you have 160,000 developers and 4,000 system integrators working on X.0. You have 160,000 people developing software for you, if I translate that. How do you...
For the customer.
For the customers.
Not for us.
Well, around your products,
is a big difference.
Solving customer problems with your products. Yeah. That's the way I understand it. You're exactly right, and thanks for the clarification. But what I'm interested in is, how do you build such a broad ecosystem? How long does it take? How do you go about it?
Well, it has taken quite a long time. But let me start off with the idea behind, which I think is relevant for every business. And when you talk about a platform, you'd like to get into a mode of having kind of a flywheel, where you say, the more I do of this, the more this will happen, the more revenue is generated, the more customers come on the platform. With that, you interest more developers to join and so forth. So that was the idea of how did we get there? We said, where are we closest already to this business model? And our Wonderware franchise that we acquired a couple of years ago was already pretty close, where we had a software that was used on-premise, no cloud capabilities, and where we had a lot of system integrators that could deploy the software, and they could also do local developments for the customer. And we said, if we want to bring this to a real platform, there are probably 3 things we need to do. Number 1 is we need to bring this to the cloud, so that we are able to run the system on-premise, on private, and on public cloud for the customer. So that was one development. The second thing we wanted to do is we needed to make sure that those developers that are out there can have a certain certification. So when customers go there, they understand that if I engage with this local partner, they really know what they do, and they've been certified by Schneider Electric to do an application or do a digital service for me. So that was the second one. The third one, which is where we're still in the process, we want to make sure that those developers out there, if they develop something for one customer, why is it only for one customer? Why can't they sell this if they've developed it in Australia, not sell to a customer that is in Canada? Now, that was very, very difficult in the past. But now if you make this application public on what we call Schneider Electric Exchange, and is going to be launched in April, these digital services can be sold via a platform that we have created, and then all of a sudden all our partners will become member of this platform because they see they've done something once and they've sold it. And if you've done software, you know pretty well how much money you make if you've sold it once or twice. What's the difference? Because obviously the marginal cost for the second time is nil. And and these are industrial applications, so it's not like your smartphone application, but there is a likelihood that you can sell them 2, 3, 4 times, or customers want to have it pretty similar. So we bring this on our Schneider Electric Exchange platform, and with that we want to attract, of course, an ecosystem of additional partners who say, oh, I want to be part of that. Oh, I've done something, maybe I can sell that to somebody else if I make it publicly available. And that's kind of the journey we've taken. So from an established franchise, bring it up to a real platform and make it globally available.
Can you, and maybe, I'm just asking, maybe the question can't be answered, but can you indicate how much revenue, additional revenue from new services are coming in comparison to the big established products plus service business?
4 years back, 0, today we're north of $1 billion.
Wow. 1 billion new revenues.
And some of those revenues have been there with other companies before. But as you explained earlier, sometimes you go out, you do acquisitions and so forth. So, but our software application and services business has significantly scaled in this north of €1 billion.
Let me tell you, we're doing just a study among the German companies. You are an exception.
Yeah, thank you very much for saying that we're a German company.
No. The study is done on German companies. We're going through, as Accenture, and I'm doing that, through the top 100 companies to understand how much revenues do they generate from digital services. Not the world, just take the patch I have in front of my yard, and I would say you're an exception. And actually that is something, Omar, I think we are looking at. There are a lot of investments going into digital capabilities. There are a lot of actually business cases all around the continuous improvement, the incremental improvement on the efficiency side. But companies seem to struggle to generate new pools of revenue with digital services. Any thoughts around that, what to do?
It's funny, actually, we published yesterday in the European Business Journal an article on what we call trapped value.
Yeah.
So we believe inside every corporation, inside its supply chain, and inside the wider market, there is value that's waiting to be unlocked, but it's trapped for one reason or another. And you're right. I mean, all of the clients I talk to, and I talk to dozens of clients, have all been running lots and lots of experiments in the digital world. And I can think of a big consumer goods company I was with last week, and they have 400 experiments across the business. And actually very few companies, I mean, I can count them in my fingers almost, have a genuine holistic approach to how to apply digital to fundamentally create new value. So what we're seeing with companies today is they're going from chapter 1 of digital experimentation to chapter 2, which is saying, how do I drive value? And what the article talks about, gets into some examples, is if you want to unlock value, begin with thinking about how am I unlocking value for my customers. And because unless I harness that, it's very difficult to drive new revenues. I can use digital to drive tons of value from a cost management and investment capacity point of view in my own operation. But in terms of new revenues, incremental revenues, that's a different challenge. And you're right, most companies are still early in that journey.
So basically there's going to be an area of its own, rethinking actually how you can monetize the data and services as an additional revenue streams.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm always cautious with clients to sort of say, look, just because Google and Facebook and Amazon have this winner-takes-all, building a data platform, doesn't mean those rules translate to every other sector. I mean, I don't believe that at all. I think the way it shows up is different. But I think we've heard some beautiful examples here from Airbus and Schneider on how, in the context of that industry, I can use the data that I'm seeing to help create incremental new value for customers. And again, I'm curious to know, using the geospatial data, the drone data, the satellite data, what the monetization potential is. You guys have a view. I mean, I'm sure, I don't know if you segment that externally, but the challenge with the new, I mean, because I think where you're going at is, if you're a smart person in a company and you want to run some experiments, you go to the CFO and you say, hey, I'd like to invest in this new idea. And the CFO says, is it risky? And the answer is, yeah, because it's new. And And does it cost much? Well, yeah, I mean, it costs quite a bit because you're trying to do something different. And then the killer question, CFO says, is it material? And the answer is no. It's completely immaterial to the core business. And so the answer from the CFO is no, we're not going to do it. And that is what kills companies time and again, where the core business gravity outweighs anything you can do in the new. And unfortunately, investors don't pay attention until at least 10% of your revenues are in the new. And so to get from 0 to 10%, you have to kind of do it under the covers. And as a management team, and then, yeah, and 10%, by the way, is in our sector, what we've discovered. It's not exactly the same in other sectors. To make the experiments under the covers, where the scale of investment could generate something material, is a completely non-trivial joke. I mean, it's because you actually have to invest at scale to get material revenues in the new. Yeah. And that's the challenge.
Let me ask as well, Dirk, when you gave your example, the brain starts to rattle. The next time we're going to have a G20 in Hamburg, we're going to photograph the city, have the drones go through before the event, after the event, automatic claims management. You can see the business cases coming out.
Preemptive claims management, I heard. It's like,
But how much revenue is coming in? How much new revenue is coming in?
See, I think you hit the nail. This is, of course, all the questions that I asked our teams before I go to the CFO. Yeah. For every business model we're talking about currently, I gave them 4 questions. And only if they answer these 4 questions, well, we go to the next level. The first one is, which problem of the customer we solve? The second is, what is the monetization model? The third one is, how do we scale taking humans out of the process? At the end, you cannot scale if you have humans in the loop. And the fourth one is, why Airbus? Why Airbus brand adds an additional?
Those are great questions.
These 4 questions are not answered well, we don't take it to the next level. Because I don't want a business plan where we have a cash flow planning for the next 10 years. But I want that our people have good answers to these 4 questions. If they have, then we take it to the next level, we test it. We will probably fail in a few ones, but most of the business models, as you say, we don't know the full potential. You see, we started with insurance. We look now at railway companies. We look at utility companies.
Agriculture.
Where we do the monitoring of the overhead catenary lines, power lines. Where today, you cannot imagine, railway operators still
have people
send trains with people to control if there are trees falling on the overhead catenary lines, things like this. This can be fully automated. So we can do this with certified drones, we can do this with satellites. So we have so many options. We can do this with machine learning, completely giving them the right point where they have to do something. So this is now adding up. Forestation. We have instruments. I just learned Waxner was visiting a smaller factory of mine in Netherlands. And they just did a hackathon, and a guy came to me and said he just developed an app in 36 hours. It's an air quality app using our own instrument. And immediately we had in mind, what about you, when you fly Lufthansa, you get these nice emails saying, okay, you're going to Hamburg, and then you get these nice description of what you can do in Hamburg, hotel and rental car links. You can add at the bottom, you can add, and by the way, the air quality for the next 5 days is like that. So this can be interesting for joggers, for people that are caring about these kind of things. When you go to Shanghai and Beijing, you might be interested in the air quality of the next 5 days. So these kind of things are now evolving, and this is completely new for us. Our people are used. They also are scared to death to fail. Our company has not a failure culture. Because in aerospace and space, you cannot say, we just fail fast. Yeah, this doesn't work well with our clients. Yeah. So first time right is our DNA. So how do you tell people that are used to be first time right? Now we say, we try something and we fail. Maybe 8 of 10 cases will fail. People will not speak up. And even they know there's no punishment at all, but they are so like, failure is not an option. So this is really a big culture hurdle now for our people.
Culture change. I think time's up. Maybe we have time left for speed dating. One question. Peter, start with you. Digital market leadership in your segment. How do you get there?
Hard work. It's digital, but it continues to be hard work.
So passion, the team.
Yeah, I think so.
Omar, Accenture is a digital leader. How did we get there?
How did we get there?
In our segment.
Investing investment growth rate higher than revenue growth rate?
Invest in it. Get the way. And Dirk?
Motivate people.
Get the team.
Just unleash the power of the people. We have so many smart people. Just combine new ones, giving them some freedom to develop. Airbus Aerial we kept it outside of the normal process, and today it's only 18 people. And they do absolutely amazing thing. But the good thing is we combine it with the existing network to make sure that it's not just another startup. It has to be integrated part of our team.
I think that is a great ending. Big round of applause for you. And thanks a lot for being here. Thank you.
Thanks, Frank.